Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.
The morning text that we do is Atma Bodha. So those who have the text, they can refer to it. Before I go to the first verse, just very briefly I will explain to you what is a prayer, this Sahana Bhavatu, because we'll be praying every day. So for all the classes begin by this prayer. So I think maybe many of you know the meaning and some of you may not know the meaning. How many people don't know the meaning? So there are sufficient people, so I'll just explain to you. So it's a prayer, it's interesting because actually I would like to thank Timur for suggesting the prayers before the retreat. Really felt very good. So it was his idea. Every year we don't do it. But this year I felt very good that we started with something like this because it's meaningful. And so every learning starts with a prayer. Prayer both on the part of the teacher and student. Both have to pray. So this Sahana Bhavatu prayer, what is it? So we are praying to Ishvara. I will explain to you what is Ishvara and all. It's all going to come. But initially we ask for the grace. Saha now Avatu. Right? So what is Avatu? So the Sahana Bhavatu, it is Sandhi. So it doesn't sound like it. But the real word is Avatu. Avatu is Rakshatu. Rakshatu means may Ishvara protect us. Right? So why do you need protection? Well, you need protection because at any given point in time you travel so far and you want to learn, and any time about some kind of an obstacle can come and which will prevent you from learning, whether it is a physical obstacle or anything with your health or your mental being. So you want to have the right frame of mind in order to even protection, both in terms of the physical protection as well as mental protection. And it's a teaching dynamic, so not only, so the exchange actually depends upon both the teacher as well as the student. So student, as they show more interest and they are able to understand more and more, the teacher can bring out all the subtler and subtler aspects of the teaching. So it's a dynamic. Suppose the teacher goes very deep and that the students are looking all lost, then the teacher has to change and come back so that, this is how it's a dynamic thing. You don't just come and blurt out whatever you have learned and not be sensitive to who's in front of you, how much are they understanding. So you always have to, the teacher has to bring the students along, and that also requires protection. So both the student and the teacher is praying for protection. Sahana Punatu. Right? So now, what do you want from this teaching? Ultimately, you don't just want this teaching for some kind of intellectual understanding of things, but you want to be nourished. You want to be nourished in your life. Nourished in your life, what does it mean? So you want to have a certain perspective to life. Your life has to become with less loads. It has to become more meaningful to you. You must have certain mastery over your thinking processes. That is what we call nourished. Right? Maybe both be nourished. So why is it the teacher also wants nourishment from students? Because again, right, people, all these amazing things that you told me yesterday, and that is all because of years and years and years of teaching. And as I expose my learning to you all, you ask me so many questions which makes me further find the answers. Things that I probably didn't think about, but you ask me that question and I have to find the way to reply to you, which nourishes me. Right? So that means that is a nourishing experience both for the student as well as for the teacher. So Sahana Punatu, Sahaviryam Karamavahe. So in order for us to be protected and to be nourished, both of us have to make an effort. We both must make an effort. Tejasvina adhitamastu. Let our study be brilliant. Ma vid vishavahai. Let there not be any obstacles. And there are three kinds of obstacles. One is therefore there are three shantis. Shanti, shanti, shanti. So the first obstacle is what we call adhyatmika. I will write maybe, but I'm not good at transliteration because I studied in Devanagari. Maybe I just write wrong spellings and then somebody can correct, or I write in Sanskrit and somebody can use, I don't know how.
No, you write in Sanskrit now.
Yeah. Who, somebody will be in charge? Ekaterina will be in charge? No, not now yet. Okay, Adhyatmika is, I'm just going to give you translation, so don't worry about this word. The obstacles which can come from yourself. Yourself means it includes the student as well as teacher. Several kinds of obstacles come, and I want to little bit focus on that because it's very, very important. This whole teaching takes you to a different paradigm. Different paradigm, what does it mean? It means that everything that we have learned so far starts and ends with you're the limited person and you have to learn to cope with the world. Everything starts like that. This takes you to the different paradigm. What is this paradigm? In this paradigm, you are not this small individual at all. That's a very big shift, right? So that means you are the whole. Now that, in order to... So what happens is, all our life we have lived as a small individual. So no matter how much I teach you who you are, we keep coming back to our own orientation because this is how we are we've been operating so far, right? So therefore, anytime you make a paradigm shift, there is an obstacle. What is an obstacle? The obstacle that the mind presents are many different obstacles. There are physical obstacles, you get sick or you get backache. All these are obstacles also. But I want to talk about the mental obstacles, which are very big in this learning. The first thing is, whenever I talk about something which you are not familiar with, there is a function in your mind which will block. Block means, oh, this is all too abstract. Your mind will tell yourself, oh, this is all, it's too difficult. It's something that I can't relate to. I just want to learn how to deal with people, So that means there is a mechanism within yourself which kind of makes it inaccessible for you. This bigger learning. So that is what we call a mental block. The second thing is resistance. Resistance means that one thing is very important, that you actually don't buy every idea that the teacher says, and that you invest in it and you try to understand it well. That is very healthy. But resistance means that suppose you ask question. Your main purpose of asking question is not to understand better, but to prove yourself right. That means, suppose you already knew everything, you don't need to be here. So the very fact that you have come so far is because you want to learn. But what the mind is doing is, while you're in the class, it wants to prove itself as being more right than the teaching. So that means your questions are there and they are very welcome. But the questions are asked for knowing more and not for proving the teaching wrong. Proving the teaching wrong, what will you get? You are just exactly as you were before. But you came here because you wanted to change. So it is self-defeating. You understand? So resistance means your attitude has to be that for learning, right? And you don't understand and you ask questions is very good, but not to disprove, right? That is what we call resistance. The third is what we call transference. This is a third problem, and which is a very common problem. So our teacher used to always tell us that not only people have blocks, they have resistance, but they also have one thing called transference. What it means is, in the classroom, right? Suppose you tell something, you give some idea, And suppose as a teacher, my job is to show what the teaching is, right? Suppose I disagree with you, people take it personally. They take it personally, oh, she doesn't like me. Oh, she's always negating me. She likes somebody more. So that means these are all the stories that go on in your mind. So that means you project on the teacher that, oh, now see, the teacher is paying so much attention to one person and not, the teacher is here to teach. But at the same time, you project all kinds of things on, she doesn't like me enough, or she's a little rude. So it really happened to me when I was giving a class in Bangkok. So there was this lady who actually was my friend. And she said something in the class, and it's not true. So I have to correct it. So I kind of say, no, this is not what it is. And maybe it happened a couple of times. And then she came to me and she says, you don't like me, right? So I said, really? It's nothing to like. I'm not, in fact, I really like you because she's my friend besides coming to my class. But I'm not here to please everyone. Please understand that. My commitment is to teaching. Teaching means I have a responsibility. And that responsibility is to this tradition which is going on for generations. If I deviate from it to please you, what will happen is my teaching will go haywire. So please don't take anything personally, because this is the third problem, which is called transference. All our things, and our teacher knew a little bit of psychology, and what he used to say is, when you are in this context of learning, right, you're actually giving your mind to somebody to shape it, and that reminds you of your childhood. And because in your childhood you were totally open, and everything you left everything to the parents to shape you. And at times you felt unloved by your somehow parents. So at times you felt that I was compared to my sibling. At times you felt, so all those experiences that you have, they keep coming back now unconsciously. So that means you view the teacher from all those experiences that you have and how you felt as a child. So that one has to be very careful and not to project on the teacher. But I also sometimes can project on, this is true also for the teacher, right? So that means the both have to be very, very careful to free themselves from this obstacle. And really the focus is to learn and to evolve and to grow and to come as close to the truth as possible. So that we have to keep reminding ourselves. Okay? So these are what we call obstacles which are centered on self. The other one is the environment. Adhyatmika, Adhibhautika. Is the environment. Adhibhautika. She will write. Please don't worry. All these Sanskrit words, she will do the transliteration. And anyway, right now, it's not like that learning Sanskrit words, you may want to learn it and it's wonderful. But please don't think that learning Sanskrit words will make you wiser. If you assimilate the teaching, that will make you wiser. Really. So, keep your focuses right. Okay? So, environment. Environment means what? Suppose there is a lot of wind, or there is a lot of noise, or there are disturbances from your physical environment, which is not entirely up to you, but it comes as a result of the whole place where you are. So you want this environment to be conducive, and this is why I enjoy every retreat. But this place is an amazing place, Rishikesh. Why is it an amazing place? Because of course, one thing is, this is a place where my teacher has taught. But not only that he had taught, but way before he became a very famous teacher, he has lived here in a hut, in a small glass hut, just by the Ganga. And he used to go for Bhiksha. Bhiksha means there are people who serve food, right? For people who have come for spiritual learning. And he used to tell me that, tell us, not me, he used to tell us that he has stood in the lines as a sadhu, asking for alms. And morning was dal and roti. Dal and roti, you understand? And evening was roti and dal. So that's all. He ate like that. He took bath in Ganga. He lived a very, very simple life. Very, very simple life. So that means this is the place which is his tapobhumi. This is where he has actually lived for years in pursuit of knowledge, a very, very simple life. And this is the place where his samadhi is. Samadhi, what does it mean? That when he left his body, it's down below. Where we did puja this morning, so his body is there. His physical body is below on the earth. So this is why this is a very, very special place. It is a special place, and Ganga is really known for ages in Indian culture as a sacred river. Sacred river, what does it mean? That you try to take a dip in it. It's freezing cold, right? And then, but they say not only it will purify you physically, but it will make your mind alert. I don't know how much of your papas go, but one thing is for sure, when you take a dip in this Ganga, your mind will be totally alert. So that is what, so the environment here is very conducive environment. Please make use of this. It's a very special place, really. Then there is what we call Adi Devika. Adi Devika means all the things which are totally beyond your control. Each one of us comes with some intelligence, some emotional maturity, some experiences of life which guide our orientations. These are doing of so many different factors and so many. You can't change your intelligence overnight. You can't change your emotional maturity overnight. You can't change your, deep down orientations overnight. So that means there is a lot of things at work besides your own effort and your own physical environment. And we recognize that. So this is why I think Preeti, where is Preeti? There she is. Okay. So she was telling me that, she's been coming to my retreat. And then she said, last year I really wanted to come. And you were in India, but then you had to go back?
2 days before.
2 days before the retreat. So that means there are so many factors which are kind of beyond totally our control and within our... So having this opportunity and being able to come and to listen and to get what the teaching is saying, that requires what? We recognize that there are factors beyond our control. And we acknowledge and we ask for blessings. So this is why there are 3 Shantis. So before you begin to learn, you recognize what you're in for, what kind of mind you need, and you are asking for blessings and everything else to be conducive so that this teaching nourishes you and you get what you want. Okay? So that's the prayer. Now, let's look at the first verse. The name of the text in the morning that we are doing is Atma Bodha. Okay? What does it mean? Bodha means the teaching. And the teaching about Atma. Atma means it's a Sanskrit. Please don't think it's some esoteric teaching or anything. Atma is a Sanskrit word for the English equivalent of. So, what is the teaching about? The nature of Atma. Right? So, the first verse. Tapovihi Kshina Papanam Shantanam Ekalavinam Mumukshunam Apekshoyam Atma Bodha Vidhiyate. So, who wants to read the translation? There is a translation, so if you can read it, then I will explain the verse. Who wants to read? Yeah, please, Priyanka.
For those who are purified from their papas, that is obstacles to knowledge, by preparatory disciplines, who have peaceful mind and free from binding desires, who are yearning for liberation, this text Atma Bodha is composed.
Okay. So now, one thing is very important, that before you start studying any text, you need to ask yourself, why am I studying this text? Right? Or not just, I want to be spiritual. So, you are studying this text for a given reason. And every text that you want to study, it also requires a certain preparation. So that means you have to be clear about what this text is and what it is going to do for you. Now that all has to be clear, right? And what it is going to do and how do I prepare myself for it so that I begin to receive and to assimilate it. So all these things have to be clear. So this particular relationship in Sanskrit, it is called Anubandha Chatushtaya. Okay, I will write Anubandha Anubandha Chatushtaya. What it means is, first, why do you want to study this book? So there are 4 different things. One is adhikari. There are 4 kind of relationships that you need to understand. The second is vishaya. The third is prayojana. And the 4th is sambandha. Okay, I will explain to it. Who is eligible for this text? Adhikari. Who is eligible for this text? So that means, suppose you are going to physics, suppose you are going to PhD class in physics, and you are a genius, but you don't have a college level of physics. Are you eligible? No. So that means everything that you want to study, there has to be some. It's not like you are inherently not eligible, but you have to make yourself eligible for that. And it depends, the eligibility depends upon what you want to study. So what it means is, suppose you have done your PhD, right, in physics, but it doesn't make you eligible immediately for advanced painting class. So that means, for every vishaya that you want to study, it requires its peculiar eligibility. You do one thing. So suppose you are you're a very successful executive, right? And you are very successful. But so that means, suppose you are, in accounting. So for accounting, you are an eligible person because you have the preparation. But for knowing Atma, you may still not have the preparation. So therefore, the adhikari always goes with vishaya. It depends upon the subject that you want to study. You have to make yourself eligible for that given thing. Right? So that means the eligibility depends upon the subject that you want to study. Prayojana. You need to ask yourself, why do I want to study in the first place? What is it going to do for me? That is, what is your purpose? And the 4th is, suppose you say, in this, I will just, right? And what is the connection, what is the connection between what I want to study and what I want to gain and this text. That sambandha has to be clear. Relationship between what I want to know and this book that I am studying. How is it going to help me? So that means these four things have to be very, very clear before you launch any studies. Otherwise, what will happen is I just start teaching you what is the nature of Atma, and you're wondering, why do I need to know what is the nature of Atma? What is it going to do for me? So that means you first need to figure out why this is. Then what happens is your interest in knowing the subject matter will increase. And you also will know that how do I prepare myself? Suppose right now I'm not 100% prepared. How do I become eligible for it? And you try to understand the subject matter because you know its overall purpose in your life. Okay? So these four things are very important in life. This is not only for Vedanta. Anything that you launch, right? Whether it's a relationship. So suppose you say, I launch a relationship for eternal love. What will happen? You break. What is this eternal love and all? You haven't understood what eternal love is. So that means you have some idea. And when that idea collapses, what happens? Disappointment sets in. So therefore, you need to actually, in life, you need to know what everybody needs to understand at some point, what exactly is the purpose of my life? You can have your own different purposes, right? I'm not talking from the standpoint of Vedanta. And those purposes can change over a period of time. It's not like once you decide a purpose, it has to be the same purpose for the rest of your life. But at that given point in your life, what you want and what is your purpose has to be clear, right? And then, once you know that this purpose, so then what you need to prepare yourself. So that means, now if this is the purpose of my life, then what is it that I need to know to achieve this purpose? And how do I make myself eligible for knowing this or being that person? And then, whatever I'm doing in life, how is it connected to my purpose? All of this, if you don't, and this is why Surya is in management school, and I think a lot of them, so he asked them, right? So they are all 25, 26 years old. And he asked them, so what is it, how do you see yourself? So they all say, I want to become a CEO. That's, well, fair enough, nothing wrong. Then Surya asks one more question, and he says, but CEO is just a title. What do you want to do? Being that CEO. They're all like, oh yeah, we didn't think about that. Right? So that means that you need, at every given point in time, you need to ask yourself, what I want from my life and what I'm doing as a result, how are they two connected? This is a very basic, it seems like a simple question, but at the same time, how many people don't actually actively think about it or actively answer it? It's just life just goes on. Things come to you, you just respond. Sometimes you're happy, sometimes you're a little overwhelmed, and it just keeps going here and there, and you've lost track of what exactly is your purpose. And your purpose can never be somebody else. It has to be you. Others, yes, you have to expand and you have to think about others. But your purpose cannot be others. We all have come with a special relationship with our body and mind. And our unique purpose, which cannot be somebody else's purpose. So this is what, so now, the first verse answers all of this with reference to Vedanta. Okay, this is just a general framework, but here it is applied with reference to Vedanta. Okay, so let's see first what is the purpose. Here he says, moksha is the purpose. So then I will explain each one. What does moksha mean? Freedom. Freedom from what? Freedom from all kinds of limitations, inadequacies, incompleteness that we feel in our life. That doesn't mean that when you're a loser, that happens. You can be extremely successful and you still can struggle with, this freedom from limitations, inadequacies, incompleteness in your life. So this is why in all the Upanishads, including Bhagavad Gita, they have a character who's interested in knowing the nature of Atma, and each of these characters is brilliant. So what it means is Arjuna, for example, he was a prince. He was not a loser or anything. He was a prince. He was extremely skilled. He was multifaceted. He was not only good at archery and all, but he was extremely good at so many other things. Right? He was a good dancer. He was very versatile as a person. He was dharmic. Dharmic means he was a very ethical human being. He was emotionally also pretty intelligent, because when he saw the fact that he had to fight with his brother, he was not indifferent. So that means he had so many qualities, and still, so suppose he was totally satisfied, there is no question of Bhagavad Gita being taught. That person finds himself struggling. Right? Not just any loser who's got no direction in life and all that. So that is whether you see, now we are doing in Bombay class Nachiketa. We are doing Kathopanishad. And who is this Nachiketa? 11-year-old boy. And he is just so brilliant. His father sends him to Lord Yama, and the way he is dialoguing with Lord Yama, you are like, wow, what a boy. In Chandogya Upanishad, Shvetaketu, all these kids, and they are all aged. They are not like, it's not like when you are 70 years old and all the wisdom comes. It's not like that. They are young. Some of them are 11 years old. Some of them are 20s. Some of them are in their 50s at any time. Right? So that means this the person who is at one given point, and it could be male, it could be female, it could be any nationality. At one point in your life, you are asking yourself that actually behind all my pursuits, what I'm really searching for is freedom. And whatever I have done so far, how is it taking me close to what I want? It can give you some nourishment. It's not that it doesn't give you nourishment, but is it really taking me closer to what I want, or I'm still struggling fundamentally as a human being? So this is something which we call as prayojana, the purpose. Unless you discover that my normal pursuits cannot give me what I'm searching for. What are the normal pursuits? Normal pursuits of artha, dharma and kama. Artha means anything that you do to bring yourself some security and wealth. Kama means any pleasures. Dharma means, you can pursue your pleasures and your wealth and everything, but you try to be ethical in pursuing it. So these three are what we call artha, dharma and kama pursuits. Please don't think that these pursuits are bad, or don't give it a name called material. This is not what it is. It only means, it's just This person who's a discerning person doesn't add one's stories to life. You try to see life as it is. These pursuits will not give you freedom from limitations, inadequacy, incompleteness in your life. Does it mean that they are bad? Does it mean that they are to be shunned? Not at all. It doesn't mean that you have to disown it all. Not at all. At the same time, you also have to recognize its limitation in giving you what you are searching for. So, unless you have come to this point, this teaching will not attract you. As long as your mind is, I want one more car, I want one more vacation, I want to, what will happen is, this is where your mind will keep going. So that means at some point you need to understand that really I'm interested in freedom. These things, so therefore, now what is my relationship with these things? This is something which is very important. My relationship, this thing is that I put it in its own place. Neither I say that it is the ultimate goal of my life, nor I reduce it to it's useless. Everything in your life has its right place. So this is what that whole dialogue between Lord Yama and Nachiketa. Lord Yama was offering him all kinds of things in order for him not to have this knowledge for moksha. And he was tempting him with, lots of grandkids and a big home and lot of power and everything. And he was seeing if he gets tempted. Now, the boy is very, very clear. He doesn't get tempted, but his answer is, always you will give me anyway. I'm not going to settle for these things, but that doesn't mean that I am shunning it. If you give me, I'll take it for sure. At the same time, this cannot become the purpose of my life. Why? Not because things are bad, because it will not get me where I want to go.
Just a question here. So, is it fair to say that if you have achieved certain things and you're satisfied to that level, then you can elevate yourself from this level to next?
Excellent. Right. So that, in fact, this is a very, very big thing. What Rajoshik is saying, that the whole attitude, and let me give you an example of my teacher. Right? Suppose somebody came to him and said that I want to study Vedanta with you, then he will ask, why do you want to study Vedanta? So suppose he says, Swamiji, life is so difficult and everything is so tough and people are so bad out there and the world is really, it sucks, and suppose you say like that, and then therefore I want to leave it all and come to Vedanta. He says, what? First, change your opinion about the world. Right? So that means it's like grapes are sour. You can't make it in the world and therefore the world seems really bad to you and out to get you. You have to learn to make it in the world. When you make it in the world, then what happens is, when you make it, you have tasted all the success, you have gained some nourishment. Still, it doesn't give you this. So what happens is, your buddhi naturally goes to what next. So that will come to this eligibility. Right? So who is the person who is eligible for this moksha? Is not the person who is disenchanted with the world and who feels as if the world is so bad. But the one who is actually feeling, I have accomplished many things. Life has been kind to me. I have been nourished enough. I have had enough wealth. And at the same time, there is something which is missing. So that is the person who is really kind of somebody who is eligible for this knowledge. And suppose you have come that you are a little disenchanted and you have come, that's okay, fine. A lot of people, Swamiji used to always say that most of the people who come to spirituality, not all, right? Few come with this whole thing of, knowing these final answers for my search and all that. That's wonderful. But many of them come because they are struggling emotionally. So therefore, that emotional struggle gives them an impetus to search for something else, because then all the kind of a paradigm within which they have been living, or that is shaken and they don't quite know what to do next, and then they go to spirituality. That's also, in fact, many are like that. So it doesn't matter. You can't tell, oh, you are not eligible because you still have to. What you do, the teaching is so complete and it is so brilliant that it will show you how to make yourself eligible over a period of time. So even if you have come as a person who is emotionally struggling over a period of time, you need to address it and you need to nourish yourself. And when that happens, then you become eligible for this knowledge while you are studying. And while you are studying this, then over a period of time, when you are sufficiently healed, this bigger knowledge will begin to take roots in you. So therefore, this is something that we all need to understand. This is why, suppose you keep going, you use this knowledge as an escape. This is a very common thing, because it's a very nice escape. You are the whole, you are free from all smallness. This is a lovely escape. Right? It is the best way. You can just negate, oh, this world is mithya. Very easy. We are all one. Also just love everyone. We are so loose. We use it's all, it's actually an emotional escape. But it gets disguised under spiritual pursuit. So therefore we have to be very careful about that. Right? So in fact, even if you have come to the teaching, you have to make yourself eligible. It's not, the teaching cannot be used as an escape. Over a period of time, you have to address it all. Okay? So this is what the next word is. So mumukshunam hitarthaya. What? Atma Bodha vidiyate. Atma Bodha. Okay? So that means this is for moksha. Who is eligible? The word that he uses here is tapobihi kshina papana. So let me little bit focus. Is this clear? Prayojana. What is the? What are you looking for? Moksha. And moksha is freedom from limitation. And this is other than artha, dharma and kama. But artha, dharma and kama is not something that you need to shun, but you have to put it in its right perspective. Okay? But understand, they themselves will not satisfy you completely. So that's why you are looking for an answer, and that is in form of inquiring into what is the nature of Atma. Am I this small, struggling human being, or am I something more to start with? Okay? Now, eligible is tapo bihi kshina papana. So let's little bit focus on that. Okay. Tapas. Generally, when we use the word tapas, especially if you come from a vernacular language like Gujarati or whatever, it seems like that there is some austerity, right? You give yourself a hard time, that is called tapas. This is not tapas, right? Tapas in you restrain yourself from everything. That is not tapas. Tapas, the meaning is self-mastery. Self-mastery in number of areas. So that means, suppose you want to know the nature of Atma, you need to have a certain self-mastery. If you haven't got it, you need to develop it over a period of time. Okay? So, what kind of self-mastery? What can you think of as self-mastery? There are different areas. What? Your speech. How you speak. Right? Because your speech has got a lot to do with what you think. Speech is a vehicle through which your thinking comes out. So that means if your thinking is not straight, your speech is going to be not straight. So this is why we pay a lot of attention to our speech. By paying a lot of attention to our speech, we also pay a lot of attention to our thinking processes. Right? So I'll just give you one example, and that is something which is very, very important. So I started this class in Juhu, the other, not your class, the other one. And somebody was asking me, so I was teaching Gita, and somebody is asking me, because this is what they are used to, right? So they said, there are some people with whom I feel good vibes, and some people with whom I feel bad vibes. So what's that? So therefore, now look at this. What do you think about that? For speech, this is speech. This is an example of speech. When I say, with this person I have a bad vibe, what am I saying to myself?
Don't get along with that person.
You didn't get along.
So I have a bad vibe. I don't have.
No, you see, this person is.
Exactly. So that means it's almost like a attack, and it's a huge judgment on the person. So that means I don't have a good vibe means the person doesn't have some good vibe. So that means it is being dismissive of the person without sufficiently knowing that person.
How would you differentiate intuition with this?
So that means, 1 minute, So therefore, the same idea, suppose, as Rajeshri is saying, suppose you are slightly intuitive, right? Then you can say something totally different. This is what I wanted to highlight as speech, right? You can say, I don't feel comfortable with this person. Do you see the difference? What is the difference? In this, you are dismissing the person, you are labeling the person as not having a good vibe, and you are this very, very superior person who feels this, this bad vibe, and therefore, this is highly judgmental. Because you don't know sufficiently. In fact, this is used mostly for people that you don't know so well. Right? Because vibes and all you get from, when you know people well, you have other type of problems. This person did this to me, that person did this to me. This is used for people that you don't know well enough. And this is an extremely judgmental. We don't recognize it. That person doesn't have a good vibe. That means what? I have inferred so much about that person without knowing enough about that person, and you're putting yourself in this higher pedestal. This is the mind that has to change. At the same time, you have to honor what you think, right? And you have to be authentic. You can't just say, let me love everyone, because there is some judgment, in your business, in your personal relationships. There is nothing wrong in using your judgment well, but it has to come back to me. And it has to come back to say, I don't feel comfortable, and that's okay, that's a fact. But there is no judgment involved on the part of the other person. This kind of a thing, you have to live an authentic life. At the same time, what? Be careful about how you express ideas. Speech is a huge thing. Really, it's a very, very... lot of our conflicts come because we use accusatory language. Yeah, so yes.
But if I say I don't feel comfortable with this person, I understand that I'm speaking for myself and it's not judgmental.
Yes.
And if my friend says why, then I'm going to say, for example, I feel bad energy and I don't want,
so this energy and all, forget it. Because it's a very good point when don't even wait for your friend to ask you why. You ask yourself, why? This is how, what happens is, we are all very instinctive. All our life goes in without examining things deeply enough. We make so many conclusions and we build on those conclusions. And we speak like that, and everybody does that. And this is why you see so many conflicts in this world. So take time to little bit examine yourself. Why do I feel like that? It's very good. Because what will happen is, then again don't use yet another synonym from vibe to energy. So this is how our whole thinking goes from one vague term to the other vague terms, but our prejudices increase and our opinions increase, and it's all a mess. Our dissatisfied, you can project on the world the way you want, but the ultimate thing is, the more and more you carry the impression of that world in your mind, you're not free. Because you are caught in a dissatisfied mind. And that dissatisfied mind has to become a mind which is connected to Ishvara. See things accurately. See things objectively. See things as they are. So that means a lot of what you speak, when somebody comes and starts speaking about their problems and all, in 5 minutes I can tell where the person is, what is the mindset. It's not the details, it is the mindset of the person. So that means, just 1 minute, we need to change our mindset. And as we change our mindset, our speech will automatically change.
I only want to point out the second sentence is you take responsibility for yourself. You don't point to the other person, and it has to do something with growing as an adult person. No?
Excellent. Absolutely. Right? You take responsibility, you take ownership for what you think. It's not like you always have to hide what you think or you always have to negate what you think. But you take responsibility, and you also you must have enough openness to say, I could be wrong and I can revise it. Right? And there's nothing wrong in revising your opinion. That's what makes you grow. So therefore, this, the speech is a very big tapas. Tapas means more and more. See, now please don't become obsessed with, am I saying every sentence right or not? That's not what, I don't want you to be this obsessed human being. But what I'm saying is, a lot of our stories, when you begin, so when you tell a story, you're so invested in that story. But if somebody who is a little mature can see what are the distortions in the stories? Right? So that is something that now it's not you have to rely on others. You yourself have to be able to detect those distortions and then correct it. and it can be corrected. It's not like some big rocket science or anything. It's just a question of being more aware. This is what we call a step towards self-mastery.
Neema, sometimes I feel uncomfortable to share my feedback.
Yes.
Because I'm afraid I'm going to hurt them and I'm projecting onto them. So how do I tell if it's my projection, if it's a genuine observation which I can share and help them?
This is good. Are you talking as a friend or are you talking as
Always
a teacher? No, because there are different roles that we play. So which context are you asking?
It's just a genuine, long-term relationship.
Relationships. Yeah. So okay. One thing is very good. So when you say, I feel like this, then what happens is you are giving your genuine feedback. See, for everything that you do, suppose your thing is not to hurt anybody, then what will happen is you will keep your relationship at a superficial level. You don't realize it. Right? In the name of kind of a harmony, what happens is you avoid the unpleasant. And as you avoid the unpleasant, actually you're not investing in the relationship. So therefore, invest in a deeper, genuine relationship. So that means what you want to tell yourself is, yes, I don't want to unnecessarily hurt the person by accusing that person or to, transport my opinion and project it on that person. But if there are things which are bothering me or there are some observations that I have, it is good, I'm investing in this relationship and I'm opening it up for discussion. So that means in your head, you're not saying, I'm going to tell off this person that you're irritating and you're like that and you're like that. Or you don't even disguise it by saying, oh, I think, this is my thing. But what you need to get back to is, what is the purpose of my conversation with that person? Am I conversing with this person to just kind of make the person feel bad? Or I think that I'm superior and I have figured it all out and I'm just kind of giving one lesson to that person? Or I'm investing in a healthy, authentic relationship. When I present my ideas, and I'm also open to listen to their ideas and revising mine if necessary. So therefore, Surya used to say that we try to make everything pleasant. And we don't say so many things that we need to say sometimes. But that little bit of discomfort is necessary because you are actually solving the problem. If you try to keep everything just at a pleasant, non-confrontational level, then what will happen is one day it will blow up. So this is why it is extremely important. And sometimes, Andre, this is something which people tell me all the time. Right? And they convince themselves that they are good human beings. That's why they don't confront. They never say anything, right? So they think that they are very evolved, they are understanding of others, they are letting go, they are forgiving. So what happens is that our weakness of actually addressing issues, it comes out in an exalted form for us where we put ourselves on a pedestal where actually our weakness comes out as a strength for us. This is what we call a distortion of mind. So you keep convincing yourself that I'm being so nice, and you keep dismissing the other person that person is like this and they will never understand. Neither you are doing yourself a favor. Actually, it's coming out of weakness. It's not coming out of any spiritual being evolved.
In that context, though, what if the other person is not ready to receive or in a receptive mode to that conversation?
So, see, the thing is that, all this is giving the strength to somebody else. It's good to understand how do I want to present my ideas, what can I do, it's very good. At the same time, if you keep telling this person is not ready, if this person is not ready, you'll never do what you have to do.
But still,
Suppose Gandhiji, just suppose, Gandhiji said, "Oh, these Britishers are not ready." What? Then what? They are not ready. They are never going to be ready. You have to make them ready. This is how it is, and you have to keep trying. Not keep trying to make them ready. You have to keep trying to say what you have to say. Change the focus of your life on yourself. Take personal ownership for things. If you leave every behavior of yours to how others are and that's not only how others are, your opinion of how others are, what they are going to receive, what they are ready for. You are deciding in your mind what they are, and all the decision-making process is all convoluted. So that means we have to learn to say, for you can say, first, why do I want to say it? Do I want to say it to create a fight? No. I want to say it because I want to put things on track. Right? That's the first thing that you need to. And suppose the person doesn't receive it, so what? The person needs to hear the truth. Not only hear the truth, don't even come as though I have the truth. I need to explore, and it is important for me, and I need to explore. So the whole thinking processes have to change. Yeah, Sajin.
It's a very fine balance between integrity and intent.
Yeah.
That's what you do over there. So
yeah, exactly. So that means your integrity has to be there. When you start a conversation, you can't come with this whole thing that I'm right and I'm going to teach that person a lesson. That's going to lead to a further fight. But at the same time, your intentions have to be right that, hey, there is this relationship or whatever is derailed and I need to put it in place. If I don't put it in place, it will get further derailed. And when I put it in place, the other person may or may not respond. It's not in my hand, but I still have to do what I have to do. And leave it at that. It's not like then you keep pressuring the other person. So you also need to know when to let go. But you still have to do your part. So that's why this not hurting everyone is a very noble thing, but it cannot be used to the other extreme. Not at the cost of authenticity. So sometimes I also feel that, I give feedback to my students. People come to me and they ask me. I try not to do it in the public, but they ask me and I have to tell them, it's okay, it's not, and they know that it is not done with any malice or it's not done with looking down on others. It's not done with any other intention than to actually help you grow. Suppose I keep on as a teacher, I don't want to hurt you, I'll never disagree with you. And if I don't disagree with you, what will happen? You'll never learn. So that means that one thing is wise, being sensitive. The other one is what? Taking it to the extreme, and then you lose perspective. So 10:30. So I will stop here. But so speech is important, right? So this is one big area of self-mastery, speech. But in speech, when you get self-mastery, you actually are straightening up your thinking processes. Getting your thinking right. What are the other aspects of self-mastery? I will do it in the next class. Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om